But before we go into the rest of those, just kind of go through some of these things in order. They say about Periel. Now, here's what's interesting: is the Talon religion. There are groups that are Menders. There's a part where Lauren asks Kavoth about the Mender Heresies, and he's like, it was an easy question, blah, blah, blah. So they just kind of hint at there's a split between the Talon church, and you have some people that worship Menda, and they're the Menders. Mayor Alvaron talks about, like, when he was searching for the Amir, he found a Mendery, which an old church, an old Mendery that had old church records. That's where he was searching for the Amir. So there's very, like, little casual mentions of Menders, the Mender heresies, and so there was a split in the church. And so Trappist, we have confirmation from Patrick Rothfuss that Trappist is an adherent of the Mender religion. So he's he's a disciple of it, or a priest of it, or a follower of it. You know, one of those where he's following this. He's a heretic, basically, of the according to the Talons, he's a heretic. But the Mender religion it seems to be like kind of a split between either like Catholics and Protestants, or Christians and Jews, whereas like the Menders believe Menda is, God in human form. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you guys following me?
Yeah, I immediately started thinking like it could be just like Calvinist. I mean, it's just these different sects of religious belief. The smallest difference, they split and they don't agree with one another. I see where you're going.
Yeah. So there's a big split, and the reason I bring that up is because Periel, who according to the Menders is basically like the Virgin Mary. But this brings back to when Kavoth sang that rhyme about the Lackless family and his mom got mad at him. There's a little throwaway line that kind of fills in some details on this split. It said, like, I seem to be out of trouble, but I couldn't keep from asking, how is it any different than parts of For All Is Waiting? Like when Fane asked Lady Periel about her hat. I heard it from so many men, I wish to see it for myself and try the fit. It's pretty obvious what he's really talking about. So, in this story that...
Are you going to explain how it's obvious? Because it's not obvious to me.
Yeah. So, this is Kavoth talking. Kavoth's the one that says pretty obvious.
Okay.
So Kavoth is... Okay, so let me step back. So when Kavoth said the poem about his mom, and his mom got real mad at him, and she talked about the sexual innuendo of the poem, he was like, well, how's it any different from For All Is Waiting? And then he read a verse of From All Is Waiting. He says, like, when Fane asked Lady Periel about her hat, and one of the verses in that story was, I heard it about from so many men, I wish to see it for myself and try the fit. Like, he's talking about her hat, where he's obviously talking about that poontang.
Yeah. Now I understand.
And so he said, that's where he's saying it's pretty obvious what he's really talking about. So he's talking about that poontang.
And he's talking about Lady Periel's, that line is talking about Lady Periel being
correct.
With many men?
It's basically implying that Lady Periel is a promiscuous whore
rather than being a virgin. Yes.
Yeah. And so I think that you have one group that see her as the Virgin Mary, and then you have another group that's trying to portray her as a floozy, and it's, clearly she didn't get impregnated by Telu, by God. She was just a stupid whore that wanted to make an excuse for why she got pregnant. That's how I kind of assume the story is. It's similar to people who mock Christianity and the Virgin Mary story. They're like, oh yeah, she got impregnated by God. And yeah, it's clear she wasn't just telling Joseph that to appease him. So I think it's similar where you got like one group that's belittling her explanation for how she got pregnant, and others believe it's literal, that she literally was impregnated by God. So I think that's kind of the big split. An example of a Mender, though, is Martin, who was with Kavoth and Tempe and Dedan and Hespa. Martin was the tracker when they were hunting the bandits. Martin, when Kavoth is going psycho and stabbing the dead body to fuck up all those other guys, Martin starts praying, and he says, Telu, who was Minda, who you were, watch over me in Minda's name, Imperial's name, in Ordale's name, in Andon's name, watch over me. Ordale and Andon are also angels that join Aleph in Scarpy's second story. So, like, he sees Telu as God, he sees Periel as the Virgin Mary, and Ordale and Anda are angels working for Telu. So it just kind of flesh out the story for you. There's these two warring sides of this religion. They have different versions of it, and clearly the Talens are the dominant version, where the Minda version, the story that Scarpy's telling, is a heretical story. Same as what Scarpy was telling was seen as heretical. It's very dangerous. Seems like what he's telling these kids, like, this is a very dangerous story to be telling, because you're going to be seen as a heretic if you go out and start telling this story.
Well, hence also the who arrests them? Priest, right? Or priest of the church.
Talon priest. Yeah, Talons.
Yeah. Interesting.
So that's like that split is the Talons and the Menders.
So
is one of the big splits.
So Trappist is telling a Menden story, though, correct?
Yes, he's a adherent of that heretic version of the story.
Okay. These are very interesting observations, because I've always without even delving into it and making all the connections you're making, you feel it's there, because there's clearly different sects of these religions. You can feel it even if you're not reading in deeply, and the mythology's there because it gets reiterated by multiple stories, and the importance is clear, because if their society, it's important to the society, then and you're living within that society, therefore it has to be, important, because you're a member of the society, right? You're living within this.
So yes, like Trappist telling this story, it's viewed from the Talon's perspective. It makes him a heretic. So like what he's telling these kids is a heretical story. Okay, so like this is like same way the Talon priest put Scarpy in jail for what he was saying. I think they would throw Trappist in jail if they heard him telling this story. So obviously the Menders, they're persecuted for their beliefs. It's not just that they believe something that the other people, disagree with. They disagree to the point where they will throw you in jail for speaking this version of events.
And so you're taking a big risk telling these stories, obviously. Yeah. Which is interesting, because that shows in both cases they're underground. I mean, literally, Trappist is underground, but Scarpy's also, he's talking to kids. Which is interesting, because they're spreading the words to these people, these kids that can then spread the story. Right? But he's doing it in a bar. He's doing it to poor kids, just kids that show up, buy him drinks. Which, wow, yeah, if that's religious, that's also pretty suspicious, right?
Yeah, like Scarpy and Trappist both telling little kids stories that could get them in a lot of trouble is, even though like Trappist taking care of, poor orphans, like, maybe don't tell them stories that if they repeat it, they're gonna get thrown in the clink with some priests that seem to have a problem with touching little boys. maybe not the wisest path to take. Speaking of the path, the path that Telu tells people to go on, maybe the right path is not to tell kids these stories. But whatever, that's what they do.